and welcome to CappingTV and our coverage of the Australian Overwatch Open Division playoffs. I am GL Phoenix, and with me is Cyberways, and we'll be taking you through some of the action as we narrow down the field as we get to the pointy end of the competition when we get to it tomorrow. But before we get into the games, Cyber, how are you doing this weekend?
I'm doing very, very well, and yeah, we are going into the business end. We are at top 16. And we are in the midst of a double elimination bracket, but we will be kicking things off slowly yet surely with the Sandfraggers and MAWF Black, who will be going at it. And I'm really looking forward to this one because we've seen a lot of changes and slow evolutions throughout the group stage, and now hopefully seeing that continue throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, it is going to be essentially the same format as we saw throughout the previous 2 months, where it's going to be essentially the first team to get 3 maps. So whichever one is able to get to that point, even if there are tiebreakers, if tiebreaker maps are needed, as long as one team gets to 3 maps, they are going to be advancing in this competition. But even for the losing team, they will be still in this competition because it is a double bracket format, or double elimination format.
Yeah, so they have one lifeline essentially from this stage, and it's basically 2 lives and you are gone. But with all that said, we've told you all about the format, but we need battlegrounds. We need maps for that. And to start off, we will be starting off on Control, and they have a choice between Busan and Nepal. And then for the second map, we will have Escort. That will be between Dorado and Route 66. For the third one, we have the Assault Discipline, and that will be between Hanamura and Volskaya Industries. I'd like to go to Volskaya because it's really, really cold there, and it's really hot here right now.
Yep.
And then for Game 4, we will have a choice between Blizzard World and Numbani for the Hybrid Discipline. And then for Game 5, we have it concluding on the Control map, which was not chosen in the first round. So it's well-rounded, Mr. Phoenix, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how all these check out.
Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting one. We've seen some variation over the course of this open division, and things have developed. We're starting to see maps a little bit more than what we would have seen maybe at the start of this whole venture. Like, I remember a week or 2 ago, we ended up seeing a few games on Blizzard World, which we weren't expecting to see too much, and also some interesting potential compositions thrown together to deal with some of those pesky goats, which I wouldn't be too against seeing today.
No, not at all, and especially with the new character, which is still getting a bit of a feeling out phase, but might be finding her place, the name of Ash, and the big beefier Coppolis Bob, and we have an emphasis on the beef.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
He is beefy is one word to use for Bob, as he is essentially a one-man army just rolling his way through essentially any battlefield. So I've been looking forward to seeing if either of these teams are going to be able to pick one of those, or if they are going to be picking Ash up. I think it was Sandfraggers that it was that match that we saw. I believe they brought out the 4 DPS composition. It was Sandfraggers that brought that one out on it was on Blizzard World. They used the Sombra to scout out essentially what the defense was bringing towards them, and then they just switched over. It was essentially goats because the team that they're up against was very much wanting to go for that time and time again, and then they just switched over to the 4 DPS, having so much range and so much damage that it was very hard for the defense to really set a footing. So I'd be very excited to see if the Sandfraggers are going to bring more of that style into this series.
Indeed, and what I really want to see is more of those specialist compositions like the 4 DPS, like you did mention on Blizzard World, where it's just basically a tide of damage that even through the toughest tank line, like you think about your Divas, your Orisses, your Reinhardts, and the ones that are basically big and have giant health pools, they can just be whittled away in a tide. And in a related note for the Open Division, because, well, we have a ton of games to go through today, and we can't do them by ourselves. We have a sister stream going on right now with other games, and that will be on Capping TV too. So I implore you, in the interim, hopefully you can watch both. That would be fantastic.
Get the multi-twitch up, or just have another screen open on another tab, or something along those lines, just to get as much of this open division action as you can possibly get. So I believe we should be getting ready to get into this first game of the day. It's going to be on Nepal, so Sandfraggers wanting to go there first up, and yeah, as we've been saying already, Cyber, I'm very interested to see how this first one plays out.
And one of the most tried and true control point maps. So we start off with the village, and oh, looks like there might be a bit of a set incorrectly. Oh, there we go. We are good to go.
Yeah.
We're good to go. Yep.
Yeah, and as you're mentioning, we are starting out on village, so I actually wouldn't be too surprised if we end up seeing a maze because of the nature of the control point and the little bit more enclosed area. It does allow the May to have a bit more value in the control of space, and we've seen some teams pick it up a little bit more and really get some quite nice value out of it.
It's been quite interesting because of the nature, like you said, the nature of the point, which is essentially an undercover box. You wall one of them off, it's basically just funneling your opposition into a single choke, and it's for someone that thrives on the close quarters like May, it's going to be a whole lot of hurt.
Yeah, and like as we're seeing already, even though it is still early hovers and things may change, over on Sandfraggers, Lemons for me, on the May, they have essentially the GOATS composition, but there's a little bit of an adaptation for this specific map.
Snow goats. That's what I'm going to call it, and I will stick to it. It'll be Sandfraggers in the blue, MAWF black in the red, and the gates are down, and here we go. The first map of the series will be on Nepal, where it being on the village, and Sandfraggers are already onto the point proper, and they're just going to have to force MAWF black to come down to try to contest.
Yeah, and locking in a more dive-centered composition for MAWF black, they have to be able to get those targets, pick them apart one by one, but so far it's really not working out as Sandfraggers already just setting up on the point, not letting anyone get anywhere near them, and already picking up the first couple of kills, securing the point for themselves. Really nice start for the Sandfraggers.
A very, very methodical start. There is a late ejection on the Dio. They're really gonna make them sweat and delay the inevitable even more. Their Dio goes, and that is a brutal stagger. And at any time, it's really brutal to get a stretch like that. But in the early stages, where you have a good chance to get a lot of percentage before ultimates come into play, this is a really good start for the Sandfraggers. They could get stuck in here if things play out right.
Yeah, and here comes the maze, setting up the wall, splitting apart the front line of MAWF black, but they do manage to get out with a lot of the mobility. The D.Va just flying over, and the Genji going all the way into the skies, able to get around that and really not get punished by it all that much. And already Psycho's been taken down. Good opening kill for this fight for the side of MAWF black, and they're starting to make their way towards the point, but so far it's just trading back now that Sandfraggers have just... And there's nothing going to dislodge them at this moment. So it seemed like this was an alright start for MAWF black, but it just turned around real quickly.
Yeah, and also a good thing to note, there was the pulse bomb pulled out from Jasper Jam, and it stuck to nothing but the icicle, the cryo freeze from Lemons for me. And Jasper Jam just tried to be an absolute nuisance and get right in the face of the Sandfraggers and try to pull them away, and got the better of Moe. So that is a big frag in the opening gambit. That's going to be the Zenyatta off the table, and there is the sound barrier. We're having another fight here, Phoenix.
Yeah, and already several ultimates have been used as a Xeno just with the fire strike. He's going to take out 3, and it was looking alright. Some ultimates were thrown a little bit willy-nilly, but in the end, just Xeno just cleaning things up with the Reinhardt. And that is just going to secure this first round here, Cyber.
That is that's how you do a shutout. They didn't even need the more crucial ults like the Transcendence. There was the Graviton Surge used. I didn't even see an Earth Shatter actually out of Xeno.
Yeah, the Earth Shatter I heard get used, but it didn't seem to have all that. Well, it didn't really do all that much with the Transcendence coming out of Gel, able to essentially ignore a lot of that, and with the trouble on the backline, it seemed like it was an alright fight for MAWF black. But then it just completely turned on a dime. The scramble to try and get on the point just didn't really work out for the side of MAWF black. And now they have to see if they can get something to work here on second point.
Yes. And we will be moving towards the bell tower, right in the middle. And actually, the pinnacle in the middle of this point, it could be a real nuisance for those that are more mobile, especially the Lucios. They can basically just ride the center spire. But now we're having a full-blown tussle on the point, and it looks like MAWF Black have strong arm first, and Yi Fang is the first to fall.
Yeah, and both sides are running identical compositions for Goats v Goats. And this time MAWF Black's able to secure the space for themselves initially and able to control it quite nicely. So now that they're playing a little bit more standard, I guess, because the dive composition that they were running before, I understood it in trying to deal with the Mei and her separation techniques, but it just didn't seem to work out. But here, just going face to face, the same thing, just going straight into the mirror compositions, seems to be working out for them much better here.
Yeah, and sometimes that's a thing to really note. There is the transcendence from Gel to keep everybody topped up on the side of MAWF Black. There is the big hammer taking the legs out of Yi Fang, and Frosty Heart will get the scratch on his hammer. And it looks like, despite having one member of the Sandfraggers on the point, it's not really enough to get the tick over, and MAWF Black will hang on.
Almost seen under a little bit there, as there was that one trailing member almost able to take the point for the Sandfraggers, but unable to secure these fights. But now they have a full belt of ultimates to work with. It's going to take a bit of an effort, and also with the Diva getting demech just before this starts, it's going to be a bit of an issue for them trying to hold on to this fight. As a great Earth Shatter goes down, and Xeno really starting to carry these fights, and well, they didn't even have to use all the ultimates, and Sandfraggers just completely clean house.
They just ran them over, and especially big beefy Xeno being the right heart. Big Earth Shatter just rolled right through the defense that MAWF Black had set up, and like you said, they didn't have to use all the ultimates. They have the Transcendence to keep themselves up. They have the sound barrier if things go awry. They have the Graviton Surge. If that doesn't get eaten, it's going to be big money, and that's going to force out the Transcendence from Gel. And Sandfraggers Xeno does have the Earth Shatter to go. Moe has gotten rid of the Lucio, and that is a trade back to both sides, as a matter of fact, and we're going 1 for 1 for 1, but finally, Sandfraggers come out the better on that exchange. And it got close, but they hang on. And they also almost have another rally for Yi Fang.
Yeah, it's just trading back and forth throughout that fight, but I'm just looking at the ultimates, and both sides are being very conservative with their usage, just not wanting to throw too many into a fight, as now we have MAWF Black coming in from the side, and the rest not really expecting it. The Earthshadow goes down onto one, and they do manage to take down Jasper Gem, as the actually the Graviton got eaten up, so nicely done there, but it's just trading back and forth. Great mech explosions on both sides, picking up a few members, but throughout all this, the point is still in favor of the Sandfraggers, and it looks like they'll be able to slowly clean up the rest of this fight and hold on the point, and it looks like it could just be 1 or 2 more scrambled fights here for the side of MAWF Black.
It's going to be a really, really rough time. A lot of the ultimates are completely out of sync. There's the sound barrier, which is almost ready, but aside from that, there's barely anything on the side of MAWF Black. Sandfraggers aren't really that much better, but they do have lemons for me with that Graviton Surge almost at the ready. There is the engage from the side of MAWF Black with the sound barrier. And it looked like it might not be so much avail. The speed is looking extremely sky blue. And that will be the Sandfraggers coming oh so close to getting the point. There is the Lucio riding the top of the spire. Not anymore. Lemons for me will give him his marching orders. And the Sandfraggers will start up a sandstorm and claim Nepal.
Yeah, and really nicely done there, just turning that second round around, because it seemed as though MAWF Black found the kind of style that they really have had a bit more success with, but then after that big team fight when Sandfraggers were able to come in with a full belt, they didn't even need to use all of them, but once they were able to secure control for themselves, they never let go of it, and MAWF Black were just a little bit wanting with some of those team fights, but they made a much better effort of it in that second round compared to the first one, and I'm interested to see where they're going to actually take us for this second map.
Yes, and to reiterate, the side of MAWF Black has the power of choice, and they have the choice between Dorado and Route 66. And what do you think that they will choose? I've seen a lot of Route 66 as of late.
Yeah, teams that seem to move more away from Dorado is just not as favorable to go towards. The Route 66, it seems to have a bit more, well, we've just seen way more of Route 66 than Dorado as of late, so I wouldn't be too surprised to go in that direction, but you never know, things might, some teams might want to try and shake things up. We've seen a little bit of Blizzard World here and there. Maybe they have something in mind to kind of shake up what the Sandfraggers have really set forward, because what we've seen from them has been really quite strong, and I'm interested to see what how they're going to come into the second map, and it looks like we are actually going to go to Dorado.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite maps, not only for the aesthetics, but especially for the first point attack and defense, because of the mainly because of the statue and the gates. Just seeing how attackers can break through something as tight as the points which are there, and you see that go both ways. And now we'll have to see how both of these teams figure out the ins and outs of the side.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how this one is going to be playing out, because as we were saying, we don't necessarily see as much Dorado as we did in the past. Teams, especially in this current map pool for this format, more teams have been straying towards the Route 66. It was just a little bit more fresh, I guess, and teams were wanting to just go with that one a little bit more, but I'm interested to see what kind of strategy that MAWF Black is going to be trying to implement here on Dorado. But we are going to start seeing how the defense is going to be set up, and it is going to be the Sandfraggers on defense first. And looking at what they've picked up so far, very interested to see how this one goes.
Really interesting composition. We're going to see a lot of long distance between Jasper Jam and Yi Feng. Yeah, Yi Feng does not have the insta-get potential compared to the Widowmaker being an Ashe, but still that threat of the dynamite with that with the fire and then the tick over time, that could actually affect a lot of people. It affect a lot of people, a lot of the attacking and defending strategies.
Yeah, the one thing about that though is that a lot of the time, that kind of style you would prefer putting it into a Goats kind of composition, as Jasper Jam opens up with a nice kill onto Lemons from me, and yeah, we'll have to see how this defense is going to hold up. Already losing a member, losing a lot of their damage. The dynamite goes through, doesn't really pick up anyone as Blow managed to take down the mech, as Jasper Jam already just imposing his will on this match.
This is one of the biggest threats in any game. A game that can instantly give anyone who is on the opposition, and that's exactly what Jasper Jam has done. 2 quick shots right into the members of the Sandfraggers defense, and that's forcing them to recoil and fall back. And this payload will go without much contest, if not at all, until we get to the statue. And then 1-on-1 fight for the side of MAWF Black, and Jasper Jam and Blow are just running roughshod on this entire defense, making it all just look like paper mache as opposed to actual stone. And that'll be MAWF Black with authority and a ton of time to boot, getting the first point and moving on to the streets phase.
Jeez, that was incredibly quick. Talking about how first point, it can be a little bit iffy depending on how the first defense, depending on how that first defense kind of goes, but already just turning around what was a bit of a disappointing first map for MAWF Black. They're coming into this one with authority, as here comes the Nano Blade. A bit of a blast from the past, Blow just slicing through, picking up supports left, right, and center, and just allowing this payload to just continue moving. And there's really not all that much that Sandfraggers can do at this moment.
Not at all. They're constantly being shipped down. No members are going down to be sure, but even just the threat of the damage from the side of MAWF Black is is reason enough for Sandfraggers to sort of retreat, give up ground, and reconfigure and reconvene. Looks like they will get a second chance to go. There is the self-destruct from Dio, does not claim any victims, but does get the threat out of the way. There is the sound barrier as well to keep more black in the fight. Frosty Hearts actually claimed Lee Farm. That is a huge get, especially getting a support out of the fight. But now the Sandfraggers are finally getting a bit of balance into their defense, and that will force the members of MAWF Black to consider retreating.
Yeah, finally they're able to dig their heels into the ground in a rather reasonable position for them to continue holding on to it. Once you lose momentum on a map like Dorado, it can be rather difficult to re-establish that, and have to see just how long the Sandfrags will be able to hold out here, because with three and a half minutes, that is a very defendable position if they're able to hold on here.
It's basically as ideal as you would have wanted if you are a defensive side. That is, oh dear, the Gravitons will go down. That is, well, they just dumped a whole bunch of sand onto MAWF Black, tell them to cool off a bit. Dio's gonna get staggered really bad and just got speared. And not even going down a good, what, 10-20 seconds of delay? That is rough for the side of MAWF Black, and looking at their ultimates, they've got a long time to wait.
Yeah, and coming into this next push, there is going to be a potential rally up coming out from Yifeng. Mighty Boy can throw down Soundbarrier as well, and Xeno is going to be so hard to deal with that Primal Rage. Have to see just how much is going to be invested here from the side of MAWF Black, but they're just trying to dive into the back line here, the Sandfraggers, but they don't manage to get anyone just yet. They actually do manage to get Gel. Nice shot there from Yifeng, and now they want to keep the fight going. They're coming in from all these different angles, and it seems to be working out from the side of Sandfraggers, and MAWF Black is not able to deal with all these different angles.
That's what happens when you just basically get collapsed upon from the defense, and there's not really all that much you could do. And yet again, a late ejection from Dio, and he's gonna have to take his sweet time or just go off the map to get back to spawn quick enough. And this is more time shaved off the clock. We're just under 2 minutes now, running into 1 minute 50, and that Dio might not even be up for the 1 minute 50. And there it goes.
Is one hell of a delay. That's one of the things with D.Va, is that once you get demacked and the fight is already done, you really need that mech to be of much use, and it does stall out the time so much more. And here comes the next push. Here comes the sound barrier, or rather early, trying to get them into the point, but the Primal Rage is just trying to split everyone up as ultimates are being dropped left, right, and center. And Earth Shatter drops down the front line, and they're trying to go forward, but the Transcendence coming out of Moe is doing a lot of work in keeping the rest of the team alive. A great Graviton, but the explosion wasn't able to follow up all that well. A bit of a mistimed or misplaced Graviton there from Jasper Jam, unfortunately. Not able to get much use out of that, but they're doing rather nicely in pushing forward a little bit more. But the fight is still trading back and forth. Yifeng is on the front line, and they do manage to take down the Reinhardt, as the rest of the team is trying to stick around in this fight. They don't have all that much time left to work with. Cyber's only about 30 seconds left to go, and they're starting to lose members here, and it could be a bit of a scramble.
It could be a scramble, it could be really bad delay too, because even after a long delayed fight, just a full-blown war of attrition between Sandfraggers and MAWF Black, the defense is really going to win, and Dio still being staggered out and getting the quick switch in to return to the D.Va and back in a mech. And MAWF Black, looking at their ultimates, they do have the best chance. The Rally, Transcendence, and the Earth Shatter. They need to just move it, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. There is the Graviton Surge to keep the opposition in place.
But they're able to just shatter one out of the way, and it's forcing the rest of the team to try and just get back to the point, because those the two members just being boosted in to the point. They need to get back onto the point. They did manage to take down Xeno, but the rest of the team is nowhere to be found. They were to split apart trying to get to the point. The Graviton just kept so many members away from the cart that it was just the Lucio, it was just the Reinhardt making their way to the cart, and at that point, it's just you're hoping for a miracle at that stage.
Like you said, they had to hoof it and they had to move really quick, and sadly, the Lucio probably wanted to have more comrades with him to help reinforce the fight, but it all fell short. And now the attackers, being the Sandfraggers, now they have to basically match that distance, and hopefully their attack is as good as their defense, because they had a really good showing. Well, aside from the opening point where it just looked a little bit shaky, they really came home strong.
Yeah, it's just essentially the nature of this map on Dorado is once you get that ball rolling and you manage to secure a few kills, secure some ground, you can really just roll that all the way through several points. But once you start to lose that, we saw just how hard it was for MAWF Black to really get anywhere near the point once they lost control. And we'll have to see if MAWF Black are going to be able to do a similar thing on the defense.
We'll wait and have a look at what the defense decides to go with. It looks like they're really trying to keep the distance and make it be really annoying. Look at Blur with the Sombra choice. Jasper Jam back on the Widow. We saw what he could do on the old Widow. Just be an absolute menace. Maybe it'll go the same for both sides. And, Psycho, why you gotta tease me like that? I was hoping to go Wrecking Ball, but it is not to be. We're seeing Sombra lead the charge, being lemons for me. And then your pretty run-of-the-mill composition, just a lot more aggression. And now the gates are down, and Sandfraggers, it's your turn. Get that payload moving.
Yeah, just lemons for me, just starting out with the Sombra, just to do a little bit of scouting, trying to see what kind of composition is going to be, they're going to have to be dealing with, and has switched back over to the Xayah, so they are running with the more traditional GOATS style composition. But this defense from MAWF Black, have to see if they're going to be able to keep them at distance and get some of that damage from long ranges. Jasper Jam takes a lot of damage thanks to some of the limited long range damage coming from the GOATS comp, as Gel is going to be the first one to go down, as that is not one you want to be seeing, as Jasper Jam does manage to get a return kill, but it's not looking too good, as Lemons for me is starting to really fire up those lasers, and it looks like this first point is going to go rather quickly yet again.
With blazing speed, we're having almost mirror tiebacks, just over 5.5 minutes. And, well, Sandfraggers, at least in my observation, they barely took a licking. It was basically, we focus down Jasper Jam, we make him run scared. They didn't even drop him until the very late stages. And after all that was said and done, Sandfraggers have the first point for, well, with very minimal resistance. And now it is up to the members of MAWF Black to basically try and find a way to recenter and dig in. But looking at their ultimates, all they have is the self-destruct. There is the one from Dio, does not get all that much value, but there is the rally and the transcendence out from the Sandfraggers. They're really wanting to keep the offense going, and they're well on their way to doing just that.
Yeah, it was a very aggressive defense coming out of MAWF Black. I'm probably thinking that they could afford at least a few attempts at the fight if they were to take it a little bit earlier and then give them enough time to respawn should the car get a little bit closer to the point. But now they have to be very wary of some of the potential ultimates coming out from the side of the Sandfraggers. We can see that it's just the Primal Rage, but we're getting close to that Graviton. Have to see how MAWF Black do come in for this defense, but we do have people on the left, right, and center. Zeno manages to take down Gel again at the start of a lot of these fights. Zenyatta is the first to be picked off, but the rest of the team is doing a decent amount of work, just charging forward. But here comes the explosion, doesn't manage to get anyone, but they're trading back and forth at this stage. But so far, it looks like this defense is going to be able to hold for just a little bit longer.
Another full-blown, just basically a collision, a butting of heads, as it were, because they are both running GOATs. They're just wanting to see who has the stronger forehead, essentially. And MAWF Black have stalled the cart in a decent position, and it'll be up to Sandfraggers to sort of break on through. And looking at the economy for them, at least right now, they might not be able to have a go at this for quite a while. There is the Graviton Surge and the explosion there. That's Frosty Heart Dio claiming 2 members of the Sandfraggers, and that's basically going to call the whole thing off for them. the members of Sandfraggers are going to retreat.
Yeah, and even just chasing them all the way back to spawn, just putting up this very aggressive defense, very forward defense here from MAWF Black, understanding that they are the ones in control of this round at this moment, and should they be able to keep this up, they could potentially take this map and even up the map score 1-1, but they have to get this to stick, as here comes an Earthshatter, puts several to the ground, and a great fight here coming out of Frosty Heart, just cleaning up members left, right, and center, but we do have the very sneaky Mighty Boy is on the point, but they do manage to get there in time. Mighty Boy isn't going to be able to get the covert operative mission to be a success, and they're stalled out yet again.
I don't think a covert mission really goes with Lucio's style. You just hear his music.
He is loud. He is very vibrant. He is all the way out there, so he's not very sneaky, but he tries his best.
I can respect the candor. There is the rally from Blur to keep this defense very well and truly topped up and in the fight. Zeno does have the primal range to go. There is Psycho blowing out Jasper Jam and Lemons for me, getting rid of Nessa and Tio. It was me, and will claim a pair for themselves. And well, it's back and forth. It looks like MAWF Black, they had to work a little bit harder, but they have stalled out the Sandfraggers, and now they're extremely stretched out in terms of the composition, and they're slowly running out of time.
Yeah, they had this idea to go for a little bit more of the long range to try and pick apart this GOAT composition where they couldn't actually be targeted, but because that mech explosion from Dio managed to take out those 2 DPS, it just completely gutted it in terms of damage. And yeah, really nice defense there. Have to see if they're able to get this next defense. As you mentioned, they're starting to run out of time, but here comes some of the big ultimates here for the side of the Sandfraggers. The Valkyrie gets popped out, and here comes the barrage as well, not really getting anything out of it, and it manages to get taken down. They're trading back and forth. Nezzy is the one to go down. Earthshatter gets dropped, and Zeno is going to be the target that they do take down. The Resurrection did get used, but not able to make all that much use of it, as there's not really anyone to stand on the point at this stage.
No, and that is the worst thing that you can have happen. Sure, there is a lot of damage coming through. Finally, they might have cracked the seal, but then it's shot right back in their face thanks to Dio and Blur. And now they're running down to 30 seconds. Bob already made his appearance. He's been and gone. And now the Sandfraggers, they're making changes and making shuffles, and this is basically last chance saloon for Sandfraggers because of ult resets as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very tenuous fight coming here. As you mentioned, ults reset, they have to, MAWF Black have to make the most of the advantages that they have. And it's a very scrambled start, as Zeno is going to be the first one to go right off the bat. And this is going to be real tough for them to get anywhere near the point. They don't even get there, as MAWF Black, after a bit of an off first map, they really turn it around here on Dorado.
Yeah, they painted the entire town black. They did that to Dorado, and well, despite Zeno and his amazing efforts, a lot of commendations to the Sandfraggers. They definitely had a lot of fight in them, especially with that defense on the second point. But sadly, it was not to be. And well, we had nodded at one in. Well, I knew from the outset, as soon as these brackets were seeded, that this would be one of the matches to really keep an eye on, and they're definitely making a good case for that.
Yeah, as we were kind of talking before we even went on air, is that we were a little bit surprised at the kind of seeding that MAWF Black ended up with. Like coming in, I believe it was at about 11th, something along those lines. It was a little bit lower than what we kind of expected, because they were a rather strong team that we saw throughout the open division. And coming in here, need to restart the stream.
Yeah, and we are going to take a little bit of an intermission for between the map that will be next. We'll be hanging tight, so you won't miss a thing. But the next map will be Hanamura. You're watching the Open Division for Overwatch Australia for the 2018-19 season. My name is Cyberwaste. I'm joined by GL Phoenix. We shall return very shortly.